Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Edwin and Mickey back for Strictly Comics, and we're gonna do a movie review. We just came back from seeing Venom not too long ago, and so we're gonna go ahead and talk about it. I think our opinions are pretty far apart, so I'll let you go first. No?
You go first, sir. I like to have the last word on this one.
Okay, going into this review, I am a huge Venom fan. I like the film. I see its flaws, like what everybody else was talking about. The bad for me first was Carlton Drake, the owner or operator of the Life Foundation.
Right.
I thought he was a very weak villain.
Yes.
I didn't like the guy who acted as him, probably because in my mind, according to the comic books, he just looks so drastically different. I guess the guy who played him didn't really have that executive presence.
He's like a tiny.
Yeah, he's
like
kind of a puny.
Tiny. You know, Silicon Valley nerdish size kind of guy.
That's probably the worst part to me. Now I've heard mixed reviews already. People saying Tom Hardy was good at acting. Tom Hardy was bad at acting. I've not seen a lot of Tom Hardy films. I thought he was fine. The guy who played Eddie Brock. Michelle Williams, I felt like she was more just a name to use to try to draw people. But I felt like, Tom Hardy's girlfriend. Yeah. I felt like they could have put anybody in her role.
Anybody.
It wasn't
but she
very
was such
significant.
A paper character. She was so two-dimensional. She's so flat. Like, even down... Okay, finish. I need to say my part because I'm finna go...
As far as the bad, that's really all I got. It's a heavy CGI film. I don't expect it to be perfect. Chances are they probably had 3 or 4 different CGI companies working on this film. I seriously doubt that one company did the entire film. But anyways, that's probably the worst part to me. Now, I do not like the fact that it was not a R-rated film because we all jumped on board very quickly once we found out that it was going to be an R-rated film. But then Sony pulled back and said it was going to be a PG-13 film. But as far as bad, what do you have?
Bad. No. Okay, with the shaky villain hand thing. Okay, so Eddie Brock's character, I liked him. I really did. He was a very believable character. He was funny. You could tell he was, he has that internal struggle. I think he was the only one who brought his A game in the entire movie. Everybody else was like, you know what? I'm just here to collect my checks.
But I thought the same thing. I thought he was convincing too, dealing with that internal struggle with the alien, because I mean, it's almost like he had a split personality that was. That's right. With.
And but at the same time, I was just like, bruh, like, why are you the only person who is the most believable character in this movie? Let me tell you something about Michelle Williams and her makeup artist and her stylist or whatever. Whoever you are, I will put in your booty on blast for putting that ugly wig on her head. What was that? It looked like a living creature. It looked like it could.
She talked about this.
It looked like it had a symbiote by itself.
She talked about this a lot throughout the film. She could not stand the way she looked, and
that thing. I felt like it could be a symbiote. Like, I was like, this thing is alive. It was like a cat. It was like a hat on her head, and it could just like
That's nothing compared to the red hair that Woody Harrelson had at the end. And speaking of which, hold on. Speaking of which, this is not a spoiler free. I don't care. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm gonna do a spoiler free version and a spoiler version. We're just gonna kind of wing it, free flow it. Yeah. So chances are there's gonna be spoilers, but. Yeah, Woody Harrelson was at the end, had the red hair. Yeah. And we know Woody Harrelson don't have much hair.
No,
and so, like, you could just tell, like, that was some kind of Ronald McDonald.
It was Ronald McDonald.
It was a little bit
with
too
the
red.
roller sets, bruh.
Yeah.
They hit him with the roller sets on that wig, bruh. Like,
I predicted he was going to be Cletus Cassidy because of Woody Harrelson's role in Natural Born Killers. So he was kind of reprising that role, so to speak, but in the form of Cletus Cassidy. But you're going to have Carnage in the sequel. Woody Harrelson was going to be Cletus Cassidy. That was kind of the mid-credit scenes, and then at the very end, it didn't really have much to do with Venom. It was more of an extended look into Miles Morales.
Okay, so let's continue with the bad with the movie.
Go ahead.
Certain key characters, like the scientist who broke Eddie Brock into the lab.
Life Foundation.
Life Foundation. She died, and we were heartbroken at first, but it was just like, keep it pushing. Nobody, you form no attachments to anyone in the movie.
Yeah,
you weren't even, it wasn't even enough for you to, that villain wasn't even enough to hate. You didn't even hate him that much. You just didn't care. He was just like a disposable, he was just a disposable part of the script, the storyline. And it was just, it made me really sad because when he himself got a symbiote inside of him, and you know, he also became his kind of version of Venom. I just thought that, I was gonna say Spawn. I just thought that it was like, oh wow, now it's gonna be real. Like, yeah, the fight scenes were okay. The car chases were pretty dope. There was a car chase with a motorcycle. Yeah. That was pretty. That was good. That was really good. I was clapping throughout that.
It went on for a while too.
It did go on for a while.
In the trailer, you saw part of that, but it's actually pretty long, and it was pretty impressive.
I was impressed with that. Some of the action scenes and the fight scenes were pretty dope. They didn't form a true story as to why the symbiotes came to Earth. There was no true story behind that. Oh,
well, I think they were trying to get the Venom as quickly as possible because that's who the movie is all about.
I understand, but I'm just saying that it was just very rushed. It was very little thought and very little work that was put into it. I think you can put in a little bit more work. It was just very lazy. Yeah, I guess I'm done.
He was kind of a throwaway villain. This film to me is just mindless entertainment. Spider-Man wasn't in it. I felt like they could have put him in it, but because they didn't with Venom, and I think that people's problem is that because Spider-Man had so much to do with Venom being born as a character,
correct?
They can't separate that.
The two. Yeah,
and I can. I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, okay.
Going with low expectations. Watch the film. I think it's a good popcorn flick. I had fun with it. It's definitely much better than Spider-Man 3, and Spider-Man 3 right now is already being shown on Netflix. It was, yeah. This is way better in my opinion, and I've heard stories about people saying that this is just as bad as Catwoman with what's her name?
With Halle Berry?
Yeah, I didn't think it.
No, it's not. Yeah, come on, guys, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
That's too much. But I do believe it wasn't that good of a movie, but at the same time, as mindless entertainment, it wasn't that
bad. But do you have any good about the film?
Sneaking some wine.
And you were kind of bored with it at first, but
yeah, because I was like, let's go.
It did kind of move a little slow, but I knew that they needed to take time to try to build up the characters as much as possible. Otherwise, people weren't going to really get it, and I still think that a lot of people didn't really get it. But
right.
But also you went to get something to drink.
So I missed a few parts of the movie.
You missed quite a bit, a good 10 minutes. Leave me
alone, sir. Let me live my life.
But anyways, Eddie Brock's girlfriend does take on the alien costume at one point, which was cool.
Which is odd but cool, but doesn't add up to the story. Eddie Brock's girlfriend all of a sudden just takes on the symbiote, doesn't die, nothing happened to her.
But at the same time, the scientists couldn't figure out that.
And they were killing the people.
Well, they were killing them because the scientists couldn't figure out that they needed to eat also. And so the aliens were pretty much deprived of food, so they were pretty much eating the host that they were attached to until they got fed. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I give it like a solid 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10, however you want to look at it. I liked it that much. I enjoyed it.
10 out of 10 is not what they're gonna get from me.
I was like, wow, you're giving it 10 out of 10? I was like, what?
4? 4.5? 5 out of 10.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah, so maybe below average.
It was below average with the storyline, but entertainment factor will make it
Were you at least like when the fight scenes were happening? Were you at least like attentive to the?
Oh yeah, very, very, very. I like that.
Okay.
I like that a lot. That's why they'd get a 5 or a 6 out of me, maybe stretching it. But outside of that, no, they're not gonna get any more from me. 5 out of 10 maybe, and maybe a 2.5 stars out of 5.
Okay. All right, guys, that's it. Please make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. We always appreciate it. Keep God first in your life. Enjoy your comic books and your movies. And until next time, everybody, we'll see you later.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.